All right, ladies and gentlemen, are we ready to proceed in the courtroom too? Ms. Champion, do we know what's going on? While I'm waiting, what's the reset date?
Yes, ma'am. The reset date is going to be April the 11th.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Judge Lal, and we are going to begin with our misdemeanor calendar. This is called the Expedited Accusation calendar with the State Court of Fulton County. These misdemeanor cases in which individuals were recently arrested and booked at the Fulton County Jail. Soon thereafter, the prosecutor, which is the Solicitor General's Office of Fulton County, has already formally accused these cases. This would be the defendant's initial appearance before a judicial officer. If you're a defendant charged with one or more misdemeanor offenses, please remember your rights. The first one is the right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court during the course of this virtual proceeding that's not only recorded but live streamed, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you. For those of you who are appearing via video, Zoom, and you are not a defendant, but a witness or a family member or an alleged victim, please stop your video. You can start your video when your particular case is being addressed. But at the present time, Tori Houston, Orlando iPhone, and the gentleman in white t-shirt, please stop your video until you hear the defendant whose case you're interested in addressing. All right, thank you. As I was saying, you have been so advised of your rights. When I address each of your cases, I will be letting you know what is your new accusation number, to let you know what are the charges brought against you, who is your counsel, who is your appointed counsel if one is required, and also to set a bond if not what one has not been set before. I will also consider modifying the bond that has been issued against you by the judge who issued the warrant against you. Some of you may qualify for what we call a signature bond. And those are the type of bonds in which you would not have to pay for it today, but you will have to comply with the conditions of the bond. If you fail to comply with the conditions of the bond, your signature bond will be revoked and converted to either a surety bond or a cash bond. For those of you who do not qualify for a signature bond today, you will receive a cash bond or a surety bond. Those type of bonds you would have to pay out of your own pocket or through a bonding company. Ms. Mia, please stop your video until you hear your particular case called. Thank you. All right, courtroom 2, who do we have, please?
Your Honor, we have position number 13, Ms. Lorraine McGee.
Okay. By the way, do you have Andrea Patterson there? I think that might be Ms. McLeod's only case.
Yes, we do.
Okay, thank you. Position number 13, I have Lorraine Alicia McGee accused of battery, family violence, and 2 counts of cruelty in the 3rd degree. Ms. McGee, you have been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Hoda Atay. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
No. Jail's a recommendation.
Good afternoon, Judge Heather Tucker. On behalf of the state, I'll be taking the middle of the calendar. I wanted to mention there are some MH issues associated with this victim, so I'm not sure if we wanted to do a breakout, hold her for the end, or how we wanted to proceed with that.
Ms. Champion, we'll take the breakout. Ms. Champion, if you could place, or whoever's hosting, Ms. Grace, if you could place Ms. Atay, Ms. Tucker, and myself in a breakout, please.
I'm sorry, Judge, Ms. Atay, you and Ms. Tucker?
Yes, please.
That's all okay, will do.
All right. This is the case with Lorraine Alicia McGee. And I believe we have someone here who is appeared on behalf of Miss McGee. If you want to unmute and chime in, this is the time to do so. Otherwise, I'm moving on. All right, this gentleman in a white t-shirt, were you here for Lisa McGee? I mean, not Lisa McGee, Lorraine McGee.
Ray, yes, ma'am.
You have any issues with her coming home?
No, ma'am.
All right, you may mute your screen, please. Thank you. I have a Lisa McGee. Were you going to chime in about this case? All right. Miss Lorraine McGee, we have consulted with your attorney and with the prosecutor. On the battery family violence, your bond is going to be set at 3,000 signature bond through pretrial services. On each count of cruelty in the third degree, your bond is going to be set at 1,500 signature bond through pretrial services. Your total bond is going to be 6,000. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services. You don't have to pay for the bond today, but you will have to report to pretrial once a month in person. You'll also be required to comply with all treatment that you are currently receiving for alcohol and or any other substance abuse, and comply with all treatment, including medication. You are to have no further violent contact with Monty Booker. You cannot have any physical or verbal altercations with Mr. Booker, as well as with the minor children at home. Otherwise, you can be arrested again, and your signature bond will be converted to a cash bond or a surety bond. You may return home, like I said, and you may have contact with Monty Booker, but you cannot afford to get arrested again. If you get arrested again for anything else, you'll be back in jail with virtually a cash bond or a surety bond. You are not to consume any alcohol, no alcohol from this point onwards. You're not to consume any illegal drugs. And when you report to pretrial, you will be subject to random screens. If you test positive for alcohol or any illegal drug substances, you will be arrested again and your signature bond will be revoked. Do you understand, Ms. McGee?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. That concludes the case. Thank you. This is a $6,000 signature bond through pretrial, further notice for trial. Next case is,
Your Honor, I need Ms. Hoda Atai to call the courtroom. She has another client that needs to be interviewed, and that's going to be position number 10, Mr. Arthur Hale. She
Okay.
can call extension 2239.
two.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll call now. Thank you. Or answer this call.
All right, thank you.
All right, next case, Deputy.
We're going to go to position number 1, Mr. Anderson.
This is State versus Demalzio Anderson, case number 24CR1489F. Mr. Anderson, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Keith Cook. Any priors, Mr. Howell?
Yeah. Hold on for a minute.
I do see that Mr. Anderson has a DeKalb County hold, so,
Hey, check your chat.
all right. Okay, looks like he has got a CRAC conviction from 2017. Mr. Pierre Thomas, any recommendation with regards to Mr. Anderson?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Brief facts of the case is that the incident took place at 1201 West Peachtree Street, Northwest Atlanta, Georgia. An officer observed a vehicle stopped in the roadway and obstructing the traffic that had its flashers on. The officer observed the operator of the vehicle, later identified as the defendant, was working for a scooter rental company that recovered and replaces scooters and that need to be charged and serviced. However, the defendant was seated and was not actively replacing equipment. The officer monitored him for a full traffic cycle during which the defendant did not move his vehicle. The officer initiated a traffic stop and made contact with the defendant, asking him for his license. He replied that he did not have one. The officer asked him his name and date of birth, at which point the defendant began fidgeting around the vehicle. So the officer asked him to stop and advised him that he would only be detained if the officer conducted an investigation. I do believe as part of a further investigation, they discovered a FTA for the wave sounding. And so I think that as an indicia, Your Honor, the recommendation from the state is I would say a signature bond through the jail on this matter, Your Honor.
All right.
No alcohol, drugs, or weapons. Nothing further to add from the state.
Each count is going to be $500. The total bond is $1,500 signature bond through the jail with a release to the DeKalb County hold only. After you've resolved your situation with DeKalb County, Mr. Anderson, you're not to operate any vehicles unless you have a valid driver's license, proper insurance, and registration. The next court date will be sent to your current mailing address, so maintain a good address with this court at all times. Thank you, Mr. Cook. Next case. South Annex, who do we have there? By any chance?
Your Honor, this is going to be position number 2, Mr. Rakeem Ash. My apologies.
No problem. Is the individual at the South Annex, has he been interviewed by the PDs? Okay. And Mr. Cook, is the gentleman seated next to you, Rakeem Ash?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Rakeem Ash is accused of criminal trespass from March 28, 2024. Mr. Ash, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Cook. Any priors? His accusation is 24 CR 1490G. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
37, a resident of Mississippi. He got history out of California, Washington, Mississippi, and Nevada. 2023 entering auto and theft by taking, trespass, obstruction. Let me get that case number. 23 CP 218385.
That's good. Thank you. Mr. Pierre Thomas?
Your Honor, brief facts of the case is that law enforcement was dispatched to 200 Eastwood Avenue, the property of a 200 Eastwood Apartments, regarding to a criminal trespasser. The defendant had been sitting on the property staircase, refusing to leave. He was previously given a trespass warning, looks like on February 22nd, 2024 by APD. Upon contact with the defendant, he stated that he could get access by opening the unlocked door of the staircase and acknowledged that he had been given a criminal trespass warning. Your Honor, the recommendation from the state is, given the criminal history, is a $500 surety bond, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and a stay away from that incident location. Nothing further to add from the state at this time.
All right. Mr. Cook?
Your Honor, I'm sorry. What was the state's recommendation again?
500 surety bond, stay away.
My client is, my client has lived in the Atlanta area for about 5 years. He does construction work or temp service, so that's a little bit off and on. At this point, he's living at the Salvation Army shelter on Lucky Street. Even $500 would be difficult for him to make. We don't have any problem with any of the stay away provisions or any other conditions. So we'd be asking for signatures only on.
Bond's going to be set at 500. It is a surety bond. Next court date is April 11th. And to stay 200 yards away from the entire complex referred to as 200 Edgewood Apartments in Atlanta, Georgia.
All I have is about 10 gone out.
Well, it's a shared, it's 500. If I go out, you would go to if you're ready.
Next case, please.
Next is going to be position number 4 and position number 5, Mr. Darius Browning.
Mr. Darius Browning is case 24 CR 1493G, accused of criminal trespass at the Bullock Haversham Townhomes. on January 2nd, 2024. And his second case is 24 CR 1494G, and that is for theft by shoplifting at a Chevron on March 25th, 2024. Mr. Browning, with respect to both cases, you've been advised to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Cook. Any prize, Mr. Howard?
Second arrest. Last was January 2nd for trespass.
All right, thank you.
Got a brief facts of the cases. Then in the first incident involving the trespass, I believe it took place on January 2nd, 2024. The defendant was found hiding in a vacant apartment, the property of the Balak Habersham townhomes located at 3277 Washington Road in East Point. The previous tenant had been evicted at the end of the year, and there was no one that was supposed to be in the apartment, apparently. For the second incident involving the theft by shoplifting, Your Honor, law enforcement was dispatched to the Chevron gas station located at 3289 Washington Road, East Point in Fulton County, Georgia, in reference to the shoplifting. Upon the arrival, the officer spoke with the store clerk, who advised that two black males had entered the store and had taken several food and beverage items before leaving without paying for them. Based on the description of the individuals and video footage of the shoplifting provided by the clerk, the officer was able to locate them. Later determined that the defendant was at the bus stop at Washington Road, and the defendant was arrested. As it relates to the first charge, Your Honor, which is the trespass, the recommendation is a signature bond through the jail. As it relates to theft by shoplifting, the recommendation is also a signature bond through the jail, Your Honor. The stay away on the first case would be from that, the request would be for no drugs, alcohol, and weapons on both cases, and for the respective stayaways on each individual case, Your Honor.
Mr. Darius Browning, I'm going to accept the state's recommendation. Any objection to the stay away, Mr. Cook?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Browning, on your criminal trespass, the bond is set at $2,000, and it's a signature bond through the jail. And you're to stay 200 yards away from the Bullock Habersham townhomes at 3227 Washington Road, East Point. If you return to that location and you are arrested again, that signature bond will be converted to a surety bond, which means you will have to pay for your bond the next time you are in jail. With regards to position number 5 on the theft by shoplifting, that's a $1,000 signature bond through the jail, and he's to stay 200 yards away from the Chevron gas station at 3289 Washington Road in East Point. At this juncture, I would say just stay away from the entire Washington Road strip. Is his address still currently in College Park?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, he needs to maintain a current address. And like I said, if he returns to any of these locations, he will be arrested again. Please bring money for bond the next time you're at the jail. No illegal drugs and no weapons and no firearms. Thank you.
Donna, give me 1 second. This is going to be position number 10, Mr. Arthur Hale.
Mr. Arthur Hale is accused of simple battery and criminal trespass from case 24 CR 1476Y from March 28, 2024. Mr. Hale, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Cook.
It's me, Your Honor.
Oh, I'm sorry, Miss Atay. Your attorney is Miss Hoda Atay, and she's on Zoom. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
Yeah, it's pretty long. 14 total. Resident of Rochester, New York.
And that's good. Thank you. Miss Tucker?
Yes, Judge, based on his history, we would be asking for a $2,000 good bond on each for a total of $4,000 good bond, with the conditions no further contact with the victim, Dwayne Hardman, as well as to stay away from the Station R apartments at 144 Moreland Ave. He has history in 3 different states, in Louisiana as recently as 2023. He's got 2 criminal trespasses there, as well as an obstruction. his Georgia history is all from 2024 and it's all criminal trespasses. So I do believe there's a high a high risk of reoffense, and these facts allege he was sleeping in this property. When he got told to leave by the security officer, he punched him. So between the violence and the history, we're asking for that $4,000 total good bond with conditions no further contact and stay away.
All right, thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Ms. Ate.
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 30 years old. He is living in Georgia now. He states that he lives with family in Atlanta for the last several months. He is, I do believe he's residentially challenged, though. He does deny the allegations as stated in the warrant. He states that he's graduated from high school and attended a lot of vocational schooling, trained in food service, welding, landscaping, and he is looking for a job right now, but he is struggling with disability, a leg injury. He would not be in a position to pay a surety bond, Your Honor. I would ask for a signature bond through pretrial services, and I have no objection to the stay away or no further contact.
All right. A bond is set at 1,500. That's 750 each count. His total bond is 1,500 surety to stay away from 144 Moreland Avenue, Atlanta, Georgia, that entire apartment complex, and no illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. And the case is reset to April 11th. Thank you. Oh, by the way, Ms. Tucker, he's got a prior trespass charge from I thought there was one. No, disregard, please. No, it was March 11th, 2024.
Is that was that accused already on an
No,
SCA?
it has not been accused. It's a prior case. It's 24 MAGC-01113. I don't know if the state plans to accuse it or NOD it, but whatever it is, it needs to be addressed at SAP if you all decide to move forward with it.
Sounds good. I'll look into that.
Thank you. All right.
Next, we're gonna
case.
go to position number 11, Mr. Christopher Holmes.
All right. This is State versus Christopher Holmes, 24 CR 1477C, accused of criminal trespass from March 28, 2024. Mr. Holmes, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Ate. Any priors, Mr. Harvard?
25. Got an open terrorist threats in Superior Court, 6 counts. It's 23 SC 189-554 on probation in Douglas County, ag assault, false imprisonment.
Okay. That's good. Thank you. Ms. Tucker?
Yes, Judge, based on the history, I don't believe you'd be a good candidate for pretrial. We're asking for $1,000 good bond as well as to stay away from MARTA. The basis of that, just in 2023 alone, he's got probation violations out of Douglas for that charge you heard Mr. Howard describe in March, August, and November. So we think there's a very high risk of reoffense, of violating a probation again. And so we'd be asking for that $1,000 good bond with a stay away from MARTA.
All right. I'm going to grant a $2,000 signature bond through the jail, and this is a release to Douglas County only.
Excuse me, may I speak to the judge, please?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, and he needs to stay away from all MARTA property. He cannot use MARTA property. He would need to find an alternative form of transportation. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons. Thank you.
May I speak to the judge, please?
Mr. Holmes, you don't need to say anything. You've got a signature bond and you can go to Douglas County and deal with that hold.
Thank you, Judge. That's all time. Do clarification. Thank you very much.
And that's what we talked about. So
Unfortunately, you all understand, right? Douglas County will have to come pick him up.
yes.
All right, good, okay. That's a 2,000 signature bond through the jail.
Your Honor, what was that bond? I apologize.
2,000 signature bond through the jail with release to Douglas County only, so they will have to come pick him up. and he's to stay away from all model property.
Thank you. Next, we're gonna go to position number 12, Mr. Daniel Mack.
Daniel Mack is 24 CR 1478A, and under this new case from an incident of April 30th, 2022, Mr. Mack has got the following traffic-related charges: giving false information to a law enforcement officer, obstruction of a law enforcement officer, driving while license suspended or revoked, and fleeing and attempting to elude a police officer. Mr. Mack, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Atay. Any priors, Mr. Howell?
17. Did you see the probation hold?
Yes, I did. Is there any other
Driving wise,
yes.
2023 suspended license conviction, 2018 FTA DUI suspended license.
Thank you. Ms. Tucker?
Yes, Judge, we would be requesting a $500 good bond on the giving false info, obstruction, and suspended license, and a $1,000 good bond on the fleeing and eluding, for a total of $2,500 good bond. Basically, the facts of this case show a flight risk. He gave the wrong name. He wouldn't comply with the officer telling him to shut off the car, and he put it in drive and drove off. He also has 2 prior obstructions on his history that I noted. So for those reasons, we'd be asking for that $2,500 good bond.
All right. Ms. Atay?
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 32 years old. He is the father of 8 minor children. He has lived in Georgia for over 10 years. He denies the allegations. This incident allegedly occurred almost 2 years ago. He has no recollection and states that it was not him, Your Honor. He does have the foreign county hold, and he works full-time as a carpenter at Small Wonders Incorporated to provide for his family. He has 8 minor children. He does pay a lot of child support. He's not in a position to afford a bond, Your Honor. I would ask for a signature bond. I understand that there's some history, but I don't. And the last FTA was 6 years ago. I don't believe that he's a flight risk. I don't believe that he's a danger to the community, and he does have to still deal with the foreign county hold. I would ask for a signature bond through pretrial services, and nothing further.
All right. On the giving false information, that's going to be 1,000. Obstruction of an officer, that's 1,000. Fleeing and attempting to elude a police officer, that's going to be 1,000. And these 3 charges are going to be a signature bond through the jail. On driving while license suspended or revoked, this is Mr. Mack's 3rd arrest for a similar offense. That's going to be a $2,000 surety bond. His total bond is a $5,000 split bond. No driving unless he has a valid driver's license, adequate insurance, and proper registration. His next court date is April 11th. And he does have a Superior Court probation hold as well. So he'll still have to remain here for that probation matter. Yes, Mr. Mack, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you.
Yeah, I was just wondering about the $2,000 bond. That's all cash.
That's a surety bond. You have to go through a bonding company and you pay a portion. Unfortunately, you cannot be released until Superior Court has had your probation hearing.
Do you know what that might be?
No, sir, that you will have to consult with Superior Court.
Okay, no further question. Go to third row, please.
Next, we got position number 14, Mr. Bernard Mitchell.
Bernard Mitchell is case 24 CR 1488F, accused of misdemeanor terroristic threats and acts from January 30th, 2024. Mr. Mitchell, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Atay. Okay.
28 total.
Mhm.
Got an open disorderly conduct obstruction, 2021 probation, 2019 ag assault conviction, 09 ag assault, ag battery, possession of a knife or a firearm during the commission conviction. That's all.
All right, thank you. Ms. Tucker?
Yes, Judge, based on this history as well as the facts of the case, we would be asking for a $5,000 good bond with conditions no further contact with Tamika Evans or any of the children who go to the Michael Hollis Innovation Academy, as well as to stay away from that academy, which is at 225 James Brawley Drive in Atlanta. You did hear a little of the history from Mr. Howard. I went all the way back. I mean, he's got 28 cycles. I've got a 2010 felony obstruction conviction, 2019 aggravated battery conviction and ag assault conviction, 2005 criminal trespass and disorderly conduct that was amended from terroristic threats conviction, 2004 simple battery, 2004 simple battery, another 2004 simple battery, all convictions, as well as arrests for battery, simple assault, family violence, simple battery. So I think, in this case, he was at the school. He made threats to whoop some ass and F them up. And
Yeah, I've read the warrant.
I think he may have made good on those considering the history. So we're requesting that $5,000 good bond.
And I think, wasn't there an allegation that his partner was also involved?
I'm not sure about that. I don't think so.
I'm just wondering whether there was multiple arrests or just him.
Just him. This is Bernard Mitchell.
Yes. The accused and his wife, Tori Houston, not only made threats to the students, but also photographed and recorded them. So was there another arrest? Apparently not. She's sitting in her home on Zoom.
Right. Then I guess
Okay.
not.
Okay. Ms. Atay, is anybody wanting to chime in before defense counsel chimes in? I have an Orlando phone. I don't know who is standing there. Did you want to chime in? No? Okay. All right, Ms. Houston, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
All right, what would you like to say?
Okay, the young lady that I guess is accused, Tamika. Okay, so he's the president of PTA, and the principal, Dr. Brown, has requested that we state to the parents of the children not to leave the children unattended before 7:00 a.m. Officer Bradford was the resource officer at the time. We have the statements and everything. Okay, once he told the young lady, she became irate. Bernard Mitchell was not on the property at all. He was standing at the crossing guard position where he was getting children across the street. We also carpool these children. Okay, she got irate because of the fact that we let her know that social worker will be in her business. From that point on, we have talked to this young lady. We watch her kid at the school. There's no altercation or nothing between us. Once the statement had been made, she's dropping her child off on time and everything. We got a character witness from the principal, which we are still involved at the school. I was up there today. I was not involved, but at the time that the incident occurred, Bernard was still standing with Officer Bradford when she came onto the school property and told me that she wanted to get her brother to handle my husband. You understand what I'm saying? So when I called my husband and let him know, hey, be alert because she has called her brother up here. But since that time, everyone has been getting along. The only reason he can't just be avoiding the school is because he carpools children to and from school. The principal will let you know that.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
You may mute your screen. Anyone else who wants to chime in on this case before Ms. Atay speaks? I have this person, Orlando. I don't know what you are doing. Are you doing someone's hair?
Yes, I am. I'm sorry. Do I need to stop doing that?
Yes, you do. Thank you. Did you have something to add or were you just observing?
No, at this point, no. I was just
Okay.
trying to make sure that he
Alright.
did a bond.
What's your role in this?
He come home because he also have kids. He have
Okay.
grandkids.
Understood. Thank you.
Children still
Alright.
attend school, so yeah.
Okay. You can stop the video, please, and mute your screen. Mr. Tate?
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor, my client is a 43-year-old father of 6 minor children. He does also have adult children and grandchildren. He's lived in Georgia all his life. I understand that there's some history, Your Honor, but he does deny the allegations as stated in the warrant. I mean, the warrant makes it sound like he's somebody who's not wanted at the school and had no business being there, that they were, videotaping the students and parents. I did email the principal. She was not able to join the Zoom call because this is around dismissal time. But she did email me, and sorry, Ms. Tucker, I didn't know that you were on today. I emailed it to the other solicitor since she wouldn't be able to be on the call, but the principal confirmed that he is the president of the Parent Teacher Student Association at the school and serves in many capacities as a volunteer and basically is the chief liaison between the school administration and the parents. He donates supplies to the school, volunteers as a crossing guard, was at the time of this incident almost 2 months ago was serving as as the school liaison between the administration and the parents, making sure that children aren't left at the school before drop-off time. And of course, I guess that rubs some parents the wrong way because they have to get to work and they want to drop kids off at school way before the school is prepared to safely, keep them safe and have them in class. Your Honor, I did, Ms. Tucker, I forwarded you the email from the principal. He also has 3 children of his own who are attending the school, in addition to serving all of the volunteer functions. And the principal stated that, he does serve many important roles at the school. I would ask for no violent contact and object to a stay away. And I understand that there's some history, Your Honor, but I would ask for a signature bond through pretrial services or the jail in this case. No good deed goes unpunished, but I don't believe that his history should penalize him in this case. And he does work, Your Honor, but with all the minor children he's supporting, he's not in a position to pay for bond. I would ask for a signature bond.
Okay. You're absolutely correct, Ms. Atay. The warrant paints a very different picture of the whole situation, including an allegation that Mr. Mitchell may have been armed with a firearm at the time of the incident. I don't know whether that's true or not, but my greatest concern is given his significant criminal history record. He's not allowed to own or possess or have any firearms around him. I'm not saying that he had a firearm. I'm just letting you know that's the allegation in the warrant.
The warrant doesn't state that there was a firearm.
No, Ms. Atay, Ms. Atay, look at the last paragraph. It does not say that a firearm was actually present, but that was a suspicion of the officer, okay? All I'm putting out there is that if there was a firearm involved, this could have escalated to a much more serious situation, and Mr. Mitchell would have found himself sitting in jail with no bond for a significant period of time. The bond at the present time is going to be a $10,000 signature bond through pretrial. He's going to report to pretrial once a month in person. He is to stay away from the entire location of the Michael R. Hollis Innovation Academy. He can take a break from his duties with the school at the present time. He's not allowed back on that school property until further order of the court. Mrs. Houston can definitely take care of all the other matters that need to be addressed with the kids, but he himself shall stay 200 yards away from that location. And if you want to get some context, Mr. Mitchell, that means that you cannot be across the street from the school. You have to be at least 2 football fields away from the school. I'm not certain what arose from that situation, but like I said, the warrant doesn't paint a very good picture. and I'm only going by the warrant right now. Y'all can flesh out these issues during the course of a trial, but you report to pretrial once a month. You stay away from that school. You're to have no contact with Tamika Evans, Deasia Collins, Bella Buchanan, and Chloe Ford.
I don't know, no disrespect.
Your Honor,
I don't know none of them. I don't know none of them. I've been having PTA meetings online, so I haven't been at school. I've been online with PTA meetings. So I haven't been
Yeah.
up to the school.
Like I said, you're gonna take a break from those duties.
Yeah, but I can't just step there. I had to go to the board, step down. I can't
The
just.
school can take care of it. You're now under a court order not to participate in anything with the school.
All right, so I'll make sure that let me know still, Joe.
Sir, you are to have no contact with that school, no contact with the individuals I mentioned. Sometimes your past can come back and bite you, and this is one of those incidences.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sure, no disrespect, but I bust my.
Mr. Mitchell, you don't need to say anything else.
Yeah, ma'am.
and please keep in mind, no alcohol, no illegal drugs, and no weapons and no firearms. Thank you.
Your Honor, can we go to position number 7?
Sure.
Going to be private attorney, Jacoby Hudson's client, Michael Edwards.
That's fine. Well, what about Miss McLeod's client?
That's an add-on. I could do that next, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor, I'm sorry
Yes.
to interrupt. Is that a Mr. Gould at South Annex? I still need to interview him. They were short-staffed at Union City.
I'm going to put you in a breakout with South Annex. Miss Grace,
Yes.
if you could place South Annex, is there a deputy at that location? All right, deputy, you're going to see a message on the screen to join the breakout with attorney Atay. Thank you. All right, Mr. Hudson, good morning, good afternoon, and who's your client again?
Good afternoon, Judge. Position 7, Michael Edwards.
Thank you. This is State versus Michael Edwards, case number 24CR1497B. Mr. Edwards is accused of battery family violence stemming from an October 18th, 2022 incident involving a Jasmine Jordan. Mr. Edwards, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Jacoby Hudson. Any priors, Mr.
19.
Howell?
19.
19 staples?
Correct. On probation, possession of cocaine with intent, possession of a firearm during the commission, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, 19 SC 166990. Got an open drug case, firearm case, 23 SC 189617. Got another open case in Superior Court for fleeing, expired license, obstruction, reckless driving, failed to report, striking fixed object, 23 SC 191717.
That's good. Thank you.
Yes, Judge, the state would be asking for a $2,500 good bond in this case with conditions no further contact with Jasmine Jordan, as well as to stay away from 177 Maury, Moury Avenue in Atlanta. The $2,500 good bond is based on the history you heard. He's on probation. He has active open cases, and 19 total cycles, as well as the violence alleged in the warrant. I know you read the warrants ahead of time, and she had multiple visible injuries, abrasions, redness, broken fingernails, clothes ripped and torn. So between those two factors, we'd be asking for that $2,500 good bond with conditions no further contact and stay away.
All right. Is there anybody else who's chiming in on this case, or shall I proceed to defense counsel?
Your Honor, I believe there's Jasmine Jordan is on the phone. She's on the Zoom call on the iPhone, and but she's not afraid. If you wanted to hear from the judge, I just wanted her to answer the questions. Is she afraid of him? She's not afraid of him. They still in a relationship. So I was going to ask for no further violent contact. And I don't believe she wants to move forward with the case, Judge, even though I know that's kind of like hearsay, it doesn't matter. but I was gonna ask for $1,000 good bond, Judge, given the fact that all those cases Mr. Edwards have are felony cases. He doesn't have it, no history of misdemeanor or battery. Only history he has is felony drug cases and fleeing and looting. So I was
And
gonna ask,
firearm, don't forget firearm, Mr.
and
Hudson.
firearm, Judge, that
Yeah,
all that
let's
is
not
true.
forget that.
Judge, you worked in felony court. You understand the magnitude of it. So,
No,
Judge, I asked that he get a $1,000 good bond, and we can hear from Miss Jordan. And she'll tell you, Judge, she doesn't. Not that the incident didn't happen, but she'll tell you that she doesn't want. She doesn't. She's not afraid of him, and she's her. And Mr. Edwards is her children's father.
Miss Jasmine Jordan, I don't know whether you're on April's iPhone or with, all right. Okay, Miss Jordan, did you want to chime in?
Yes, ma'am. I'm not sure if you can see me, Judge.
Please raise your right hand, the other right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, this occurred in October 2020. The warrant seems very, very
Oh,
concerning.
Your Honor.
What would you like to tell the court?
I would just like to say, Your Honor, I'm not afraid. I'm not scared. We have been in a relationship for quite some time. We've actually been together for 9 years. Since then, we have been rekindling the relationship. I just went through an ectopic pregnancy with him. So I'm not scared. I'm not afraid. Ectopic pregnancy, and I'm still going through that now.
Okay.
But I'm not afraid. That's my lover, that's my kid's father, and I just want him out of there.
Is he living with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hudson, your client's bond is going to be $5,000. It's a signature bond through pretrial services. No violent contact with Jasmine Jordan. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and definitely no weapons and no firearms. He is not allowed to own a firearm. He's not allowed to have one in his home, on his person, in any vehicle that he occupies or anywhere near him. Now, I don't know if he's gotten the memo on that, but if he gets arrested again for anything involving a firearm, just come back to court with $5,000 and we'll be glad to accept that.
Thank you, Judge. What level?
Let me finish, Mr. Hudson.
Okay, I
Unfortunately,
didn't know.
we are not quite done with Mr. Edwards. Within 30 days, he'll be reporting to pretrial once a month in person only. So that's the level 1 reporting in person, no email. And within 30 days of being released, he is to enroll in a domestic violence intervention program. And he's to attend those classes every week until he completes the program. This is a 24-week program. And every time that he reports to pretrial, he must show proof that he's regularly attending those classes. So he would need to get proof from the school that he is in regular attendance, no absentees. And we will see him when we send him court summons to come back to court. Anything else, Mr. Hudson?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. I appreciate the bond. So that's the LVIP program he need to complete, the Family Violence Intervention Program.
That's right, sir.
Okay, I will let him know about that program.
And he must enroll within 30 days of being released. So please make sure that he begins.
I will, Judge. I will. Thank you so much. Okay.
All right, Mr. Hudson, you have a good day. Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Judge.
Next, all right, Miss Jordan, you can leave the Zoom. Next case, please.
Going to be the add-on one, Mr. Patterson.
Thank you. Ms. McLeod, this is your client, Andrea Corey Patterson, accused of theft by shoplifting from March 28, 2024. Mr. Patterson has been advised of his right to remain silent, and you are representing him, Ms. Maureen McLeod. Okay, I've already reviewed his felony theft by shoplifting case. That's the only one I'm really concerned about. Mr. Pierre Thomas, did you have something to chime in with? I'm sorry, you're on mute?
One moment, let me double check and find the matter. Sorry. I believe this is Ms. Tucker's case.
All right, Ms. Tucker? I'm sorry, you're on mute?
I apologize. This is the add-on case?
Yes, it is. Mhm.
All right. And what did you say? I'm sorry, Jen.
Mr. Patterson, I've already reviewed his prior felony theft by shoplifting case, and what's the state's recommendation for this new theft by shoplifting misdemeanor charge?
Well, considering he has the prior, we would be recommending $1,000 good bond, with conditions to stay away from the place.
CVS Pharmacy?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 39 years old. He is currently unemployed, on the verge of being homeless, he tells me, Your Honor. So he was feeling a little desperate. And that's all we can say. You know, it was cold. I believe there were some blankets involved. But I would ask the court to consider giving him a signature bond because he really is not in a position to pay for bond.
Have you interviewed him already?
I have, Your Honor.
Right. What's my concern is that in the warrant, he's threatened to go back repeatedly.
I don't, he denies that, Your Honor.
And Judge, I apologize. I was going off the top of my head. I didn't pull up this fact pattern, but he does have 46 out of Florida. And out of Florida, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 thefts or burglaries. So for those reasons, I would definitely not recommend a signature bond.
That's my concern, Ms. McLeod. I didn't want to go through that significant history, but it's out now. So anything else, Ms. McLeod?
No, Your Honor, it's just that he's unemployed.
Okay.
He was employed, but he's been unemployed for a few months now.
All right. Mr. Patterson, this is going to be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial. You'll need to report to pretrial in person once a month, and you're to stay away from all CVS pharmacy stores, including the one at 507 Joseph E. Boone Boulevard. If you return to that location, or if you get arrested again for shoplifting, according to the warrant, they have you on video for several other incidences. Don't give the prosecutor a reason to bring more cases against you. You need to stay away from the CVS pharmacy stores, all of them. And you've spent 219 days in jail before on a prior case. Don't make this another extended stay. Otherwise, we'll be glad to welcome you back. Do you understand?
Hey, this is per judge.
Yes, please. That's a 2,000 signature bond for pretrial.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And further notice for trial. Please, if you can, Ms. McLeod, provide us with a good contact address for your client.
He has given me a good address, Your Honor.
If you can forward that to Ms. Champion and Ms.
I will send it to her. I'll put it in the chat to Ms. Champion.
And don't forget our friend Toussaint Howard as well.
I will.
It can go on the bond order. I don't need it. He got a report anyway, so.
All right, he'll give it to us as well. Thank you, Ms. McLeod.
You're welcome, Your Honor.
Your Honor, what level is this?
Level 1, in person only. Per judge, apparently. Okay.
Now, let me ask a question. Does he have money to get to the courthouse?
I'm sure he'll get one. Thank you.
Let's hope he can get the bus, I hope.
Oh, thank you. Courtroom 2, who do we have?
Next is going to be position 16 through 18, Mr. Edmund Nanji.
Okay. Mr. Edmund Nanji or Najay, you have three cases involving abandonment of child support obligations. This is 24 CR 1484J, 1485J, and 1486J. Yes. Your collective purge amount for all three cases is $3,600, which you would have to pay in order to be released and close the cases out. This is not a bond situation. You have been in this situation before, according to this record, and actually back on November 9th, 2023. So please remember that you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Kim. Ms. Kim? I'm sorry, I beg your pardon. Ms. Tucker?
Yes, Judge, these are all the cases that involve the same child. Nothing further aside from we'd recommend him paying the purge amount.
Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. Well, he is 52 years old, and I was wondering, child support contempt, it has a $1,000 surety bond right now.
That is a child support contempt action, and it may be pending in Superior Court.
Okay.
So I'm actually going to forward this information to the litigation manager for that, and to find out what exactly is going on with
Sure.
respect to that matter. But
Your Honor,
as far as state court is concerned, these are the three cases.
Your Honor,
Yes,
could I speak?
you have a right to remain silent. Anything you choose to say can and will be used against you.
Yeah, I think I need to speak. I am unaware of all these allegations. The child we're talking about here, I have no idea I even had a child. I was arrested in November, as you said, for a traffic violation in Cobb County and brought to Fulton County, where I found out that I was being charged for child support. I don't even know. I need to speak because I need to speak.
Let me ask you one thing, Mr. Najee. Didn't you pay the purge amount on November 19th?
I didn't even know it was going towards child support until the marshal who picked me up said they're paying the money to a lady who's suing you for having a child. And
But you have a child support contempt action in Superior Court, and if you are going to challenge paternity, that's the place where you definitely have to do so.
that's exactly what I said. I went to court. I was sued over a year ago, or a little over a year ago. And when we got to court, she dropped the charges. So I'm asking myself, why would she go back and sue me without any knowledge? And I'm getting arrested for something I don't even have a clue. I've asked for DNA tests, and no DNA test has been done. I don't even know when the child was born. The child doesn't answer my name, didn't sign the birth certificate, but I'm being sued for child support with amounts, and nobody even knows my salary. Like, how am I getting charged for child support without going to court and actually agreeing or identifying and determining that the child is mine? I have a daughter on this call right now that I paid child support for her for 18 years. She's on this call. And I had to go to court, declare my salary, put down my monthly expenses, liabilities, and assets, and then an amount was determined. But in this case, I've not seen the child. Don't have any idea when the child was born. Didn't sign a paper. I was just arrested and told you have a child and you're being sued for child support. So how was all this determined? I don't have a problem, Your Honor. I do not. As a responsible person, I've raised 3 children, all college graduates, and I don't have a problem.
I am looking. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I am looking at this warrant application that was filed in the Magistrate Court of Fulton County. This is by Nikita Pitts.
Yeah, she's the one who dropped the charges. Yeah.
She didn't. This was an affidavit for an arrest warrant that she filed with the court on January 17th, 2024. and the warrant was signed off by Judge Rickman
I was
on
in
January
Africa in
17th,
January.
2024.
I was in Africa in January, I just came back in February. What I've realized, Your Honor, every single time that I'm not in the country, that's when I have court dates. For some reason, the only day I showed up in court, she dropped charges.
All right, all right. I hear you, sir, but unfortunately, you did not respond to the hearings that were being held in Magistrate Court of Fulton County, and the judge has already set the bond. So if you want to challenge the paternity, if you want to seek a refund of all the money that you paid for this purge amount, you have to go through this process.
Your Honor, please, I lost my job in November when I was arrested as a result of this same issue. I'm asking.
And I can only tell you, sir, I cannot change the amount. You can speak to your attorney. She'll explain to you the law on purge amounts. I cannot change it.
On the purge amount is 2,600, I accept, but what about the $1,000?
Your Honor, for the record, public defender advised to remain silent, and we have advised all of them.
Understood. Mr. Nanji, like I said, you do have a child support contempt action, and I'm going to inquire of the litigation manager as to the status of that support. And then Ms. Kim and Ms. Tucker, if you will put your emails directly to me, I will send you information about this child support contempt and when his hearing is, if there is one. But he will have to challenge paternity in the appropriate court.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. I would be glad to set aside the purge amount, but I'm not allowed by law to do so since it's already set by a court that's found that you are assumed to be the father. All right.
You done, man.
Thank you.
You done.
These three cases are further notice to April 11th.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, for the child support contempt, would that $1,000 bond order stand or?
Yeah, that will stand. I don't think that's with state court. Next case.
Next, we have position number 22, Mr. Mylan Thomas, or Milan Thomas.
Milan Thomas is accused of criminal trespass from March 28, 2024 in case 24 CR 1487C. Mr. Thomas, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
Third arrest, 2023 obstruction.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Pierre Thomas?
Your Honor, very brief facts of the case is that the defendant was seen crossing over the westbound track at the 5 Points MARTA station located at 30 Alabama Street, Southwest Atlanta, Georgia, here in Fulton County, Georgia, which led to him being detained. Once he was detained, he stated that he knew that he was previously given a citation from MARTA Properties during the initial investigation, Your Honor. Your Honor, the three arrests are essentially this arrest and two other willful obstruction and criminal trespass arrests, one out of Fulton, one out of out of MARTA. Looks like both of them were null process. He was given some sort of second chance in that. Given that, the state would recommend a signature bond through the pretrial services, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and a stay away from all MARTA properties at this point. Nothing further to add from the state.
Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Thomas is only 20 years young, and he graduated from high school 2022. Indeed, he actually has a YouTube channel. He put his song. He wants to be a singer, and he's really, really good. And I believe that there was some MH issue that kind of prevents him from remembering this. He suffers with a memory situations, and we would like to request for signature on bond. Through pretrial, we have no objection, Your Honor.
2,000 signature bond through pretrial services. Stay away from all MARTA property. He's not allowed on the at the stations, at the bus stop. He's not allowed on the trains and not allowed on the buses. He's definitely not allowed on the tracks or anywhere where, even in the restricted areas of MARTA property. I don't know how else to let him know this is the only language I know, but if he returns to MARTA property and he's arrested, please bring $2,000 with you the next time, because that's how much it's going to cost you to be released from jail. No illegal drugs and no weapons. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, would this be level 1 also?
Level 1 in person.
Your Honor, this is gonna be position number 8, Ms. Allison Garcia, position number 8.
Okay. This is State versus Allison Garcia, case 24 CR 1498A, accused of battery, criminal trespassing causing damage to property, and willful obstruction of an officer from March 28th, 2024. Ms. Garcia, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Cook. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
2023 DUI. Well, she got 2 of them. 2022 battery dismissed.
2 DUIs?
Yes.
From which years? Both in 2022?
2023 is what I got.
So 2022 and 2023 DUI.
I got 2 2023s.
Oh, I see. Okay, so. Okay.
State, you got something different?
Nope, both of those in 2023.
Okay. Ms. Tucker, what's the recommendation?
Yes, Judge, we'd be asking for 2,000 good on the battery, 1,000 good on the criminal trespass, and 300 good, or excuse me, 500 good on count 3, the obstruction, which is a total of 3,500, as well as no further contact with Charles Smith and to stay away from this incident location, which is 35,000 Deer Trail in Alpharetta. We're basing that on the history. She does have a history of DUIs, and the facts allege that there was an issue over a parking space. So there was driving, as well as this victim sustained lacerations to his neck, redness to his face, scrapes and bleeding from his knee. And based on all this, we would ask for that $3,500 good bond.
All right. Mr. Cook, I understand, does she live in that complex?
Yes, Your Honor, and she was moving out during the this incident. She denies the allegations of state of the warrant, but I would like to share with the court a few more facts about her.
Yes, sir.
My client is a disabled veteran, 9-year service in the Marine Corps, 2 9-month deployments to Afghanistan. She was moving from that apartment complex at the time of the alleged accident. I understand the DUI issue, but that's not, there's nothing that suggests that that's a part of this incident. She was moving from the apartment complex. She has no problem with staying away from the alleged victim. No problem staying away from that complex, but she still has a few more hours of removing her stuff from that apartment. A 1-hour Leo visited, a law enforcement officer visited. I'm sorry, probably won't accomplish that, and otherwise she would run the risk of losing her property. So we would be asked that she'd be allowed to go back for at least half a day to finish the move so she can recover her property.
She would need to hire a moving service and be there with a police officer, and that move has to take place no more than 2 hours.
Okay, well, I think
She's not entitled to stay there for 6 hours and with the officer standing by.
no, I understand. Okay. All right, Your Honor. I don't know that she can accomplish it in 2 hours, and I hope she doesn't lose any property as a result of that.
Understood. Anything else, sir?
No, I guess not.
Okay. On the battery, it's going to be 2,000. On the trespass and obstruction, 1,000 each. That's a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial services. That's going to be a reporting level 1 in person once a month to pretrial services. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and no firearms. If she owns any firearms, they have to be surrendered to the authorities for destruction. She will be subject to random screens by pretrial for illegal drug substances and or alcohol. She's to have no contact with Charles Smith, and she's to stay away from the entire complex at 35,000 Deer Trail, Alpharetta, Georgia. She's allowed to go back to that location one time only in the company of a law enforcement officer. That visit cannot exceed 2 hours. So if there is significant amount of material or items to be removed, it is highly recommended that she gets a moving service, go there, and if she's present, she needs to be in the presence of a police officer. She cannot return to the complex by herself. Next court date will be sent to her new address. So within 30 days from today, she must update the court clerk's office with her new mailing address. Thank you.
Your Honor, I believe we have an additional add-on calendar with Ms. Hollis Thomas on it, if you received it.
No, but I can be glad to look at it. What about Merrill Beavers, position 3?
That's going to be a waiver, Your Honor.
All right. And then I've got position 9. I think we're going to address that at the South Annex. And then I have position 15, Anita Montgomery.
Present at the ACDC, Your Honor.
ACDC, Your Honor.
Okay.
And position 6 is a waiver also.
All right. And then 21, Ibrahima So.
The bond was paid.
All right, so position 21 is released and further notice. Okay, yep, I see the additional add-on. Okay, so are we ready to address Hollis Thomas? Hollis Thomas is case number 24 CR 1501Y. Ms. Thomas, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Ms. Kim. Ms. Thomas is accused of possession, display, use of an identification of another without consent, driving while license suspended or revoked, and giving false information to an officer from March 28th, 2024. Ms. Hollis, Ms. Thomas, your case has already been formally accused. And any other priors, Mr. Howard?
Fifth arrest, 2023 battery DV, cruelty in the third. Got an open DUI, and a 2019 DUI conviction.
All right.
You know, the brief facts of the case is essentially the indicia for this charge is that she gave, I believe, which was an adequate identification card. It was her sister's identification card because she knew that her license was suspended. Her sister's name, or the victim's name in this case, would be Carmella, Cormella, Thomas, Thomas. I think that is the indicia for all 3 charges, Your Honor. She ultimately gave the incorrect. In doing so, she also ultimately gave the incorrect date of birth as well. The recommendation from the state is a signature bond through the pretrial services, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. Nothing further to add from the state at this time. And to abide by all and any active restrictions placed on her through the DDS services. Nothing further to add from the state at this time.
Yeah. I have a Darius Ward who has appeared. Are you involved in this case? It looks like Officer Ward.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor. I am Miss Thomas' husband.
Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am. We share 2 kids together, a 1-year-old and a 9-year-old. So I'm here for support.
Understood. Thank you. On each count, it's going to be $1,000. It's going to be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial services. She will need to report in person. She'll be not to consume any alcohol or illegal substances and will be subject to random screens by pretrial services. No driving until further order of the court or once you have your driver's license reinstated by the Department of Driver Services. So Ms. Kim and Ms. Thomas and Officer Ward, just to make sure that you understand what I'm saying. You cannot drive until you have your own valid Class C driver's license reinstated by the Georgia Department of Driver Services and is physically attached to your person if you operate a motor vehicle. It must be current, it must be valid, and it must be fully reinstated. If you have a limited driving permit, that is not sufficient. You must have a valid reinstated driver's license. So that's what I mean when I say no driving until further order of the court or until you have a full-fledged driver's license reinstated. Thank you. Next court date will be sent to her current address. Mr. Gould at South Annex. Ms. Atay, are we ready to address that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, that's position number 18, I believe.
Hello?
This is state versus, I'm sorry, I have the wrong position number. Gee. There we are. Ahmad Gold II is charged with simple assault from March 6, 2024. Are you Mr. Gold?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Mr. Gold, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Atay. Any priors on
No.
Okay. His case number is 24 CR 1480B. Mr. Thomas?
No, this is an interesting case. It is that on March 6, 2024, the officer responded to the main office of Washington High, which is located at 45 White House Drive in Southwest Georgia at Atlanta, Georgia, and Fulton County, in reference to a teacher being threatened by a student, the defendant, during an instructional period. The victim expressed that her safety was at concern for her because the student, the defendant, said that he was drawing a picture of someone shooting Miss Henry. Her name is Takia Henry, T-A''Kiya, last name Henry, traditional spelling. She said that after giving instruction to complete assignment, that's when he made that statement. Others in the classroom heard the statement and have provided statements for investigation to law enforcement. During the investigation, the defendant himself refused to submit a complete statement before walking out of the location in the main office outside the building to the south of White House Drive. The school was unfortunately forced to place itself on an exterior lockdown because the mother, who was called after the incident, mentioned that Mr. Gould is known to carrying weapons outside of school. We have been fortunate enough to talk to or speak with Miss Henry, who is the teacher at Booker T. Washington High School. The victim stated that she has had the defendant in her course since January, and he's been a problem ever since. The victim stated that the defendant does not listen to her and does not comply with her orders. The victim confirmed that the defendant drew the picture. The victim stated that she had to be escorted to her car out of fear as she was going home. The victim stated that the defendant showed up to class the following Monday. The victim also stated that she had to get the defendant transferred out of her classroom. The victim stated that she is very afraid for her safety because the defendant is known for carrying guns. The victim stated that she does not want any contact with the defendant in it, but unfortunately she's unable to attend the Zoom. But if we could sign for her in accordance with Marcia's law, that'd be greatly appreciated. Given the limited criminal history, Your Honor, the state would request a signature bond through the pretrial services, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. We'd ask for him to abide by any active restrictions or suspensions from the school location, for him to have no further contact with the victim, and for him to complete an anger awareness course, Your Honor. Nothing further to add from the state at this time.
All right. Takia Henry? What? I have an Ayana Smith. Yes, ma'am. Who are you?
I'm his mother.
All right, Ms. Smith, would you like to contribute to the proceeding?
Yes, I want to say I did not make that statement.
Please raise your right hand.
Okay.
You solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge.
Yes, so I just wanted to say that I did not say that statement, that he is known for carrying guns. I did not say that statement. Also, my son has a 504 on his
You can
account
put your hand
from,
up.
can you hear me?
You can put your hand up.
Okay. Yeah. He has a 504 on his case in high school for like PTSD. And when we had a manifesto, the teachers agreed that was kind of like a manifestation of his behavior, the fight or flight mode. So I want to first say I did not, a second say I did not make that statement that he's known to carry guns. That is false.
All right. Anything else?
No, this is my son' first situation, and I would honestly like him to get out as soon as possible and with nothing on his record.
That's not possible at this juncture. Mr. Gold, you have to remain seated and looking at the camera unless there's something very interesting on the floor. All right, Ms. Ate?
Yes, Your Honor, my client is a 17-year-old high school student. He's currently in 11th grade at Booker T. Washington High School. This is his very first arrest. He was suspended from school for 3 days. I'm not sure why it went any further than that, Your Honor. He does deny the allegations as stated in the warrant. I don't even think that the warrant supports, I think he was doing a drawing assignment in school, Your Honor. As his mother said, he is on a special plan with the school, a 504 plan to deal with his trauma and PTSD from events that occurred when he was a freshman at the school. Apparently that traumatic event went viral. So the school's aware of, his special circumstances. I'm not sure how no further contact would work for him. I don't want him to fall behind in school and lose credits for a class. He is in 11th grade, so set to graduate after his senior year. It's his first arrest, Your Honor. He's 17 years old. He's in high school. I think that keeps him busy. He's also working as a cashier at McDonald's. I would ask for a signature bond through the jail. I would object to the no further contact, but if the school dealt with it. They did suspend him, so they didn't remove him from the class. I would object to the no further contact and the anger awareness and ask for a signature bond through the jail so that he can get back to being a high school student.
Bond is set at $3,500. It is a signature bond through pretrial services. Miss Ayana Smith will have to co-sign the bond. He's to have no further contact with Takia Henry. He's to stay away from Booker T. Washington High School. He shall continue his classes at home, online, and the school and Miss Smith can make arrangements with the school for him to receive his classes at home, online, until further order of the court. He's not to consume any alcohol, no illegal drugs, and he's not to possess or own any firearms. If there are any firearms in the home, they must be removed from the property and kept very far away from Mr. Gold. He's to report to pretrial once a month in person, and he may be subject to random screens for any illegal drugs or alcohol.
I'm sorry, can I ask, the school suspended him for 3 days.
Mr. Tate, in this day and time, given the nature of the allegations, this is the bond restriction. You may be comfortable with the discipline imposed by the school, but the court is
school
not.
is comfortable with this discipline imposed by the school.
Understood. I'm not.
And also, I want to note that I'm traveling for work. So
Ms. Smith, you're going to have to make accommodations for your child.
You'll sign through a link for the co-signing the bond.
Your Honor, how much was that bond amount?
3,500 signature bond through pretrial. Please make a note that if he doesn't report to pretrial once a month in person, that his bond will be revoked and he'll be back in jail. Thank you. ACDC, you said you had,
Your Honor, this should be another one in South Annex. It should be,
oh, that's another one? Oh, I'm so sorry. Which is the other one?
should be Nelson, position 19.
Oh, okay, thank you. Right, Jalen Nelson.
South Annex.
All right. Who represents Mr. Nelson? Is that you, Mr. Tate?
Actually, I would.
Miss Kim? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
This is State versus Jalen Nelson, accused of simple battery against an officer from January 20th, 2024. Case number 24 CR 1450D. Mr. Nelson, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Miss Kim. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
He been in custody since last year on some capital offenses.
Okay, thank you. This appears to be an at-jail facility incident. Mr. Pierre Thomas, any recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor, just brief facts of the case is that the allegation is that he spit on the detention officer, Your Honor. I think that given the nature of everything, the recommendation would be a signature bond through the jail only because I don't see any function of anything else. It would be a no further violent contact with Officer R. George, traditional spelling, nothing further.
Ms. Kim, your client has $1,000 signature bond through the jail, no violent contact with Officer George, and no violent contact with any other staff member at the Fulton County Jail. Any further infractions or discipline issues will result in this signature bond being revoked and converted to a cash bond or a surety bond. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Any more at South Annex?
No.
All right, thank you. ACDC? Deputy Milton? I think that was position number 15. This is State versus Anita Montgomery, accused of a false report of a crime from February 23rd, 2024. Ms. Montgomery, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and your counsel is Ms. Atay. Any priors?
Second arrest, last arrest was 1999.
All right. Ms. Tucker? Anything
Yes,
else?
Judge, based on the lack of history and the lack of threat to public safety, we would concede to a $1,000 signature bond.
All right, Ms. Montgomery, you have $1,000 signature bond through the jail. Please remember to maintain a good address with the court at all times. This is still an active case against you, and you certainly don't want to get a bench warrant for failure to appear. We will send you notice of when to come back to court to your current mailing address. If you get arrested again for anything else, you could lose your $1,000 signature bond and would have to pay for your bond the next time. Thank you.
Next, we have position 20, Ms. Satterwhite.
This is State versus Latonia Satterwhite, accused of battery, family violence, and 2 counts of cruelty in the 1 count of cruelty to children in 3rd degree, and 1 count of terroristic threats and acts from a March 28, 2024 incident. Ms. Satterwhite, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is who is Ms. Satterwhite's public defense counsel? Ms. Kim, is that you? Or Mr. Cook?
Yeah, that's Ms. Kim, Your Honor.
Ms. Kim, all right, thank you. I'm sorry, I couldn't see you on the screen. All right. All right, Mr. Howard, any priors on
14 total, 2023 trespass, 2022 trespass. 2019 obstruction, simple assault, DV, 2 counts, conviction. 2015 breach of peace, conviction.
Thank you. Mr. Pierre Thomas?
Your Honor, facts of the case is that on March 28, 2024, the victim approached her sister, the defendant, regarding the defendant burning sage in the house. Both women reside in the house. The two began to argue, at which point the defendant punched the victim in the face and started fighting her, causing bruising and swelling to the front of her left shoulder of the victim, also causing swelling to the bottom lip and a swollen right eye. The defendant's daughter, who we will refer to as MS, was present and witnessed the fight. During transport, the defendant threatened to kill Officer Michael Tatum when she was released from custody. The officer Tatum's body-worn camera captured and recorded the incident. Prior to that, the defendant started kicking the cage of the patrol car. In combination with the violent kicking and the verbal threat to the officer believed that Ms. Satterwhite was more than capable of making good on her threat. Fortunately, our office has been able to get in contact with the adult victim for the battery family violence. She advised that they are sisters. She stated that she has been allowing the defendant to reside with her. She states that the defendant needs an MH evaluation in her humble opinion. The victim stated that there's been an ongoing issue. She also stated and made the state aware of the previous case, 19 SC 173326, between the two of them.
I've reviewed that case.
Okay. And she states that she does not want the defendant to return to the residence. And we do believe that she may be on the call. So if we could sound for Ms. Carla Martin, CARLA.
She's going to chime in as soon as she pulls over from the highway. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Nothing further to add from this. Oh, the recommendation is a $3,000 surety bond, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, to stay away from the incident location, and no contact with the victims, and the completion of an anger awareness course. Nothing further to add from the state.
All right. And Mr. Pierre Thomas, just FYI, if you all reach out to the alleged victims or witnesses, please let them know they're not supposed to be driving or being driven when they appear in court. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Kim?
Absolutely.
Ms. Kim, do you have a recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. We would like to recommend for a signature on bond through pretrial, Your Honor. My client is 47 years old and she had a major car accident on 2007. And because of that, she does have a little bit of disability and also head injuries that kind of makes her a little bit unstable. She does need to get there. Her daughter is living there together. Her daughter is minor, 13 years old. And so she prefers to return back home. However, if Your Honor is not inclined to give her signature on bond through pretrial, maybe we can just stay away from that location and try to find a new place and no further contact with her sister. She is receiving disability checks and she's qualified for public defender's services because of her indigency. And Your Honor, March 31st, the Easter Sunday, is her birthday, and I was hoping that she can get out of the jail before her birthday.
All right.
And also,
Yes, ma'am.
Louis's birthday, March 31st.
Okay, thank you. What's concerning is that I'm reading this case and I'm reading the 2019 case, and I'm very concerned about her conduct. So not only with alleged victims, but also with alleged police officers, and gives great concern about her anger management. On the battery family violence, that's going to be a $1,500 surety bond. On the cruelty charge, that's going to be a $1,000 signature bond through pretrial. And the terroristic threats is going to be a $1,000 signature bond through pretrial. The total bond is a $3,500 split bond. No further contact with Carla Satterwhite Martin, and no illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no firearms. She is to continue any MH treatment that she's currently undergoing and comply with all medication and treatment. She may return to 3479 Village Park Lane one time only with a police officer to retrieve her belongings and retrieve her children. And within 30 days of being released from jail, she must update the court with her new mailing address. While she's out on bond, she will report to pretrial once a month. and be subject to random screens for illegal drugs and or alcohol. And as I said, we will send her next court date to her new address as she provides to the court. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Next court date's April 11th. All right, do we have a, well, let me just, we're done with ACDC? All right, thank you, Deputy Milton. Okay, who represents Merrill Beavers?
I do, Your Honor.
All right.
That's the
And
one, that was the one.
you waived his appearance?
Yes, ma'am. Well, he waited. Yeah.
All right. Or rather, he authorized you to waive his appearance?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And have you submitted the written waiver to Ms. Champion?
Oh, boy. I have to go back and check. Got a little bit behind on things. I'm not sure I did that yet.
Ms. Champion, do you have a copy of the waiver of Mr. Merrill Beaver's appearance from this proceeding?
No, ma'am, I do not.
I can get it right to her.
Would you be able to provide it soon after the court?
Oh, yes, immediately after court.
Okay, thank you. Case is 24 CR 1492F, accused of criminal trespass and disorderly conduct, 2 counts, from March 28, 2024. And any priors, Mr. Howell?
41, got open terrorist threats in Superior Court. On probation for trespass, disorderly conduct in state court.
Huh?
Another criminal trespass.
Mr.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Mr. Pierre Thomas, excuse me.
brief facts of the case is that law enforcement was dispatched to a criminal trespass at Whole Foods Market located at 77 West Paces Ferry Road in Atlanta, Georgia. There, the officer was advised that the male suspect, the defendant, had previously been criminally trespassed from the location on 3 prior occasions within where he was arrested. The defendant returned to the location and he was banging on the door of the business, refusing to leave and preventing the employees. Madison Posey, one of the victims, Madison Pozzi, and Sydney Mason, Sidney Mason, from leaving the building. When Ms. Posey and and Mason left the building, the defendant followed them to their vehicles. The officer, a security officer at Whole Foods, responded. The defendant threatened to shoot the security officer. The security officer's name is Gabriel, Gabriel, Headley, Headley. The defendant was gone by the time the officers arrived at the location, but they received another call that the defendant had been trespassed at a nearby Capitol Grill located at 255 East Paces Ferry Road, Northwest Atlanta, Georgia, and Fulton County, Georgia, where the defendant entered the restaurant and started stating that someone stole his wallet. While there, Derek Fulford, the vice president of marketing at the location, told the defendant to leave the property. The defendant then got into Mr. Fulford's face and was described as squaring up as if he intended to fight him and threatened to throw Mr. Fulford off the building. The recommendation from the state as it relates to this matter, Your Honor, is a $3,000 surety bond. The breakdown for that, it would be $500 on the criminal trespass. On count 2, $1,500 surety, and on count 3, $1,000 surety, for a total of a $3,000 surety bond. It would be for him to have no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, for him to stay away from the Whole Foods located at the 77 West Paces Ferry location, for him to stay away from the Capitol Grill location of 255 East Paces Ferry Road location. We're going to have no further contact with the following: Madison Posey, Sydney Mason, Gabriel Headley, and Derek Fulford. Nothing further. And if we could sound for all of these victims in accordance with Marcy's law, that'd be greatly appreciated. Nothing further to add from the state at this time.
I don't see anyone by that name. All right, Mr. Cook?
Your Honor, we have no objection to the conditions of the bond. We would be asking for a signature bond at level 3.
Okay. I'm just looking at his history with Fulton County in the recent past. He doesn't qualify for a signature bond. The criminal trespass is $1,500 on each count of disorderly conduct. It's a $2,000 surety bond. Next court date's April 11th. To stay away from the Whole Foods and the Capital City Grill on West Whole Foods is at West Paces Ferry. Capital City Grill is at East Paces Ferry. And no contact with the 4 identified victims. No illegal drugs, alcohol, and weapons. All right. Shall we go over the calendar? Just to make sure I've got all the right numbers. I have someone called Nanji phone. I don't know that person. Did you want to chime in for Mr. Nanji? Hello? All right. Position number 1. Oh, let me start on the add-on. On the add-on calendar, position
Your Honor,
1.
we still have another waiver. Position 6, Henderson Burton.
Okay.
And I apologize, Your Honor, this will also be one I'll have to get to this champion immediately following.
All right. Did your client Henderson Burton authorize you to waive his appearance?
Oh, yes, face to face, Your Honor.
All right, then go ahead and submit that as soon as possible. Mr. Henderson Burton, 24 CR 1495E, is accused of battery, family violence involving one Brendan Quintarius from March 27, 2024. Accusations 24 CR 1495E. Mr. Howard, any priors on Henderson Burton?
You got 8 total, no violence.
All right. And Ms. Tucker?
Yes, Judge, I'm sorry. The state would recommend a $2,000 good bond with conditions stay away from this location, which is 3554 Adkins Road in Atlanta, as well as to have no further contact with the victim, Brendan Quintarius Aldridge. Aldridge is ALDRIDGE.
Okay.
Based on it's our understanding the defendant got a baby with the mother of this victim. So when the victim went to his mother's house, this defendant was there. He wasn't wearing clothes. The victim said, put some clothes on, and then an argument ensued, leaving the victim with visible bruising. For those reasons, we would ask for that $2,000 good bond with the condition stay away and no further contact.
The defendant lives with the victim and his brother live at that house, correct?
So the victim, yes, lives there, and then the defendant, it said lived there on and off, but it's not a permanent resident for the defendant.
And the defendant is apparently the mother's partner, intimate partner.
Yes.
Okay, but the victim and his brother live at the same household.
Yes.
Okay. I just want to be sure. Mr. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor. My client does live in another location. He denies the allegations as stated in the warrant. When I saw him, his right eye was very swollen, his nose was very swollen. So this turned out to be a 3-on-1. I believe the officers got this one wrong when they made I think they arrested the wrong person. But that can be settled down the line. We have no problem with stay away, no problem with no objection to the no further contact. He doesn't want any further contact. And we would be asking for a signature bond at level 3.
All right, Mr. Burton is going to be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial services. We'll make it a level 2. He needs to report twice a month. He's to have no contact with Brendan Quintarius. He's not to return to the 3554, I think it was Addison Road.
ADKINS.
Oh, Adkins Road, okay, in Atlanta, Georgia. He's allowed a one-time visit with a police officer to retrieve his belongings. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and no firearms. And he's to update the court with his new mailing address within 30 days of being released. further notice for trial. All right. Any other cases, Deputy?
That's it, Your Honor.
All right. All right, sir. Thank you. Let me just go over the cases. On the add-on calendar, I have Patterson, who's got a $2,000 signature bond to pretrial. And on Hollis, who's got a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial services. On the main calendar, Anderson, position 1 is a $1,500 signature bond through the jail with a release to DeKalb County hold only. Position 2, Ash, is a $500 surety bond, reset April 11th. 3, Beavis is a $2,000 surety, reset April 11th. 4, Browning is a $2,000 signature bond through the jail, further notice. For Browning, position 5 is a $1,000 signature bond through the jail, further notice. 6, Burton, Henderson Burton is a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial, level 2. 7, Edwards is a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial with requirement to do a DVIP within, enroll in DVIP within 30 days. 8, Garcia is a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial, further notice. 9, Gold is a $3,500 signature bond through pretrial, parent co-signer, and stay away from the school with home classes or online classes. Arthur Hale is a $1,500 surety bond, April 11th, next court date. 11, Holmes is a $2,000 signature bond through the jail with a release to Douglas County. 12, Daniel Marks is a $5,000 split bond, reset April 11th. 13, McGee is a $6,000 signature bond through pretrial. 14, Mitchell's a $10,000 signature bond through pretrial. 15 is a, I think it was a $1,000 signature bond through the jail. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am, you're correct.
Thank you. 16, 17, and 18 are all the purge amounts that will guarantee, and I'll get with you, Ms. Tucker and Ms. Kim, about the contempt action. Jylan Nelson is a $1,000 signature bond through the jail. Satterwhite is a $3,500 split bond. 21 is released for the notice. 22, Thomas is a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. Anything else, folks? No? Okay, then court's concluded, and I still don't know who Nanjay phone is, so hopefully Mr. Pierre Thomas, that person will contact Victor. All right. That concludes everything. You're all free to go. Thank you.
Thank you.